Second by Mr. Guines.
All in favor?
All in favor?
To the consent agenda, we're adding Resolution 5V, resolution authorizing an agreement for professional services with M.A. Howard Consulting for engineering and planning activities.
Move as amended.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a first by Mr. Lawrence, second by Mr. Tisdale. All in favor? 7-0. Now, Mr. Guines, if you will give the invocation.
All right, I'm gonna yield to our pastor here and ask him to come up and do a prayer for us. I know he's getting ready to leave us. If he'll do an opening prayer for us.
Here you go, sir.
Let us pray together. Our gracious and loving Heavenly Father, we thank you for the chance to meet together to steer a community forward and upward. I thank you for the kind souls who joined this place that put their minds and hearts towards this task. Bless the decisions, the discussions, and the outcomes to the good of all people. In your gracious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you. Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you.
We'll now move to the mayor's report. And we'll
Yes, sir.
start-
Mr. President, I'd invite both of y'all back up here, to let me present this proclamation to the Salvation Army, and you all, come on. Well, let me say this. It's a special week, special people. So let me say, the Salvation Army acts as a responsible steward of charitable dollars to achieve diverse range of mission and goals. Whereas the Salvation Army continues to handle many unmet needs of the community during these adverse times. The Salvation Army provides for solace and spiritual needs of the community. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Fofo Gillich, Mayor of Biloxi, Mississippi, in support and commemoration of the work the Salvation Army Mississippi Gulf Coast do hereby proclaim May 10 through 16, 2021, as Salvation Army Week. So, thank you so much. Great, thank you. If you would care to say.
We're very appreciative of the Biloxi community, and we are trying in the near future to work towards giving more back to the folks that surround us. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, our council appreciate being back to normal, right?
That's it.
All right. I did. I just have a few comments, and Mike can add to it, but I was wearing this Cotton States baseball mask, and of course, let me say this. I think our Shuckers have started tonight, first game, right? As far as the professional team. In very short order, we had a league called the Cotton States Baseball League that from the 20s and the 30s and the 40s that was, Biloxi, Birmingham, Memphis, and a couple of other ones. That was a pro league, but this would be what we're getting ready to announce as the beginning in June and July of a wood bat league, or wooden bat league, whichever you prefer, made up of collegiate people after College World Series and college folks that just want to play, or high school graduates that just want to play baseball. So that will be beginning here. There'll be another league, and we'll share 3 facilities. One at A.J. Holloway Park, at the baseball part of that complex, and then at the Biloxi High School Stadium. And then when the Shuckers are not in town, we intend to play baseball there. So we'll have every weekend in June and July the ability to see college and wood bat kind of action. In addition, I think May 11th is the first Shuckers home game, so we're excited about that, and hopefully with our return to normalcy, this will be a great 2021 and on to better things. Everything is looking up, I think. Our numbers are moving in the right direction. Things may be happening, as I mentioned in the last council meeting, with some COVID kind of assistance and infrastructure kind of assistance that we're hopeful that Biloxi is sitting in the right spot. You'll notice that we've, in just about a week, we'll be down to 1 engineer, from 4. Mike has continued to interview some new folks, and then we've added a couple of professional services to hand some of the jobs that are ongoing, the engineering in-house stuff, to the 2 items that are on your agenda today. So we're real pleased and proud to move this area forward and address anything that might come our way. Opportunity is what I'm saying. So, and I believe that concludes my report, except for one. Oh, yeah, well, I want to thank the service industry, but I do want to say one thing. And this is, hopefully I can get through this. But yesterday, there was a very tragic chain of events that started in East Baton Rouge, and it wound up in Biloxi. And I think, Chief, about 4 people lost their lives, right? And when you look at the whole chain of events, I want to say how proud I am of you and your folks. And tomorrow we're going to memorialize, Fallen Officers Day. And for me, what we went through with Robert, really means something. We're all fortunate to have both our police and fire and all of our members dedicated like they are, because truly they might not come back home. So I do want to, say that it was something that was tragic. We just hope that everything turns out like it for the best every time, but it didn't. And our police department and Chief Miller has the very serious task of putting this thing together to sort through what has happened, starting in East Baton Rouge and winding up off the I-10 and the Wool Market. So that's what I want to say is thank you everyone, because every day, every week, we're appreciative of the things that happen. And as I look back and want everybody who's in the service industry and the things that are causing us to move forward, and we're thankful of getting back to normal. Again, I think part of the executive order to remove the ability to have to wear a mask all the time. We're asking our employees, especially in your close contact situation, to wear, if you're comfortable, or if you're uncomfortable in what you have to do, wear your mask. And we'll do the same around here, but we're not going to ask anybody to put a mask on to come to the city buildings. That's primarily what the governor has indicated. And, hopefully with the vaccines, we're on the right path back. So we're thankful to everybody that's part of, I guess our community and the spirit that's going to move us through 2021 and beyond. And I believe that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have a report from a member of the tree committee. If you will, please come forward, and if you will, state your name for the record as well.
Can I move that back?
Yeah. Speak clearly.
I will do my best to speak clearly. Okay, I'm Tracy Wyman, and I'm going to give the annual report on behalf of the tree committee. So thank you for the opportunity to give this report to you. We've been working closely over the past several years, really, with the Director of Community Development and the City Arborist, so that, and then each time we prepare this report, we send a copy to them, and then they review it. We meet with them. We reconcile any glitches or differences or whatever. And so we work really hard on just working together, and this is the culmination. There are 3 parts to the report: the permits that are issued generally for trees between 1 and 4 trees. And then the next part of the report is the narrative. The third part of the report is the mitigation report, and it's a doozy. And so mitigation is when trees are replanted at a ratio of 3 to 1 after they've been approved for removal. And this is especially important in the large tree removal cases when there's 5 or more. So anyway, we've prepared a draft of that. The city arborist is currently working on updating that. And so we plan to present that to you as an individual report next month, if that'll be okay. So the tree permit tracking this time covers 21 months, or this whole report covers a 21-month period from August 2019 through March 2021. It's a bear to produce this and to keep all the information correct, and then we had COVID, and so it was really difficult to just to reconcile it with the members, with the city arborist and the director of community development. So anyway, we finally have been able to do that, and so we're producing this massive report, or we're presenting this massive report. So basically, what we do is the city arborist has a system of tracking all of the permits that come across his desk, and then he sends them via email to us, and then we track them as well. And so what this is just a system of checks and balances so that we make sure that somebody's seeing some record of all the trees that are going down and why they're going down. And so we're left here with, after all of our working on this, we're left with 18 cases, which is a very small number compared to our last report. 18 cases where we don't have all of the data that we should have gotten. And I'll explain what we learned from that. And those are all highlighted in this report. So on the last page of the tree permit section, basically you see our totals. So for this period, which was a 21-month period, 631 trees were removed by permit. That's a monthly average of 30 trees per month. The last reporting period, which was only 7 months, there were 21 trees by comparison for removal. So that number is up a little bit. They were, and then below that is shown the reason that they were removed. 93 because they were dead or diseased, 124 because they were a potential hazard to a structure, and 351 were removed due to construction development. Okay, that's compared, and so the greatest number were removed this period due to construction development as compared to last, when the greatest number was removed due to dead or diseased trees. So that's just a report. So what we learned from this analysis under the notes section, the majority of trees being removed are due to development. Areas for improvement. We'd like to see more consistency in the species being noted, the size of the tree being noted, and the reason for removal. And all of this is supposed to be reported on the permit. And so we're seeing a lot of times when that doesn't happen, and so we have to dig and dig and dig for the information. We'd like to see more consideration regarding alternative plans to conserve trees during new construction. Third, on developer sites and some single-family residences, new construction that's being built, they're often not being documented through the regular process. And this analysis kind of revealed that. The city arborist and you know, we figured out what's happening there, that information is going through the regular building permit process. And so they're working on a way to be sure that those are documented through the regular tree permitting process as they should be. This says 21, but there are actually 18 cases that I mentioned earlier that we're still missing some data on. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I guess I could ask if you have anybody has any questions on what I've said.
Yes, I do have a question, Ms. Wyman. And you said that sometimes the data is missing, and it sounded from what you said, if I understood correctly, it's a procedural thing. The data is gathered somewhere. It just doesn't get to you. And is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you say that the administration is working to resolve that issue so that the tree committee is then in the loop. That way you have a complete set of data.
Yes, and what we've found, I mean, there's a lot of sniggly little times that the information doesn't get to us, but then we work really hard to reconcile all that. So there were a lot more cases that were noted, and then in the analysis and the reconciliation process, we worked together with the city arborist, and we found all that data, and we have it. Right. But the ones that we still are missing the data on are generally they're generally developers that didn't really apply for a tree permit. They applied for the building permit, and they noted that there were trees. They didn't necessarily note which trees were coming down or why they were coming down. And so, anyway, they're working on a process to more accurately document that.
Okay, they being the
city arborist and the director of community development.
good deal. Thank you.
I'm curious whether those counts included the trees we lost in the storm.
Some of them did, and we pretty much didn't highlight those.
We
'Cause
cut
that's
down
understandable.
a lot of, and hauled off a lot of trees after that storm.
Right. Some of them did appear on that as, they were flagged for, we don't have the documentation, and then, it was storm damage, and we just gave them a clear slate.
Got to pass on storm damage.
Yep.
Right.
Got to get that stuff done, and they did a great job getting it done. Okay, so the narrative is rather lengthy. I'm going to go through it super quickly. And basically, the tree committee is pretty full right now in terms of we've got almost every ward filled. We are still in, Geneva Doomer stepped down, and so we're still in need of a representative for Ward 4. And we've had a couple new ones step up, a few new ones, Pam Barlow, Christine Davis, and I believe it's April Reeder, Ward 2, has already been approved. And I may have spelled her name wrong because I haven't actually spoken with April yet. So basically, the tree committee, in addition to keeping track of these permits, we're asked by the city arborist to create a report or create recommendations, and this is according to the land development ordinance. So we create recommendations for every, basically, tree permit that's going to go to tree hearing, and that's 5 trees or greater. And so there were 7 of those that we've made recommendations on this 21-month period, and they're all detailed here. And so here, we just note areas for improvement. All tree committee recommendations are to be read aloud during a public tree hearing and included in the official minutes. And there were a couple instances where that did not happen, and so we're just bringing attention to that. And then second, the tree committee must be informed of all cases to be heard in a public tree public tree hearing. And there was one that fell through the cracks, and we did not get notified on that. But in general, we are notified of them. We have like 2 weeks or 10 days to submit our recommendations. We do that, they get read. Most often, the recommendations get accepted, and we've been really grateful for that. Compliance reporting on the second page listed here are several, just things that are, required by the LDO that we're working on bringing more consistency to, and that we bring to the attention of the city arborist and the director of community development when they occur. So those are listed there. They're pretty much, and we're communicating this with the city, and so they're pretty much, and they're responding very positively, and so these are problems that are being rectified. Things like stockpiling under trees, storing like portalettes or trailers under trees. So under a canopy of a tree, by law, nothing is supposed to be stored under there during a construction site, because if it's under the canopy, it's basically impacting the root system, which will compact the soil and eventually compromise the health of the tree. One of the biggest things is that would be super helpful and is required is for applicants of tree permits to complete the application correctly and in full. And so that's just one of the things we're asking for. We've talked with the city on these other points. Citizen concerns that were brought up this period, there was the Azalea Street live oak that, got a noteworthy picture of the mayor hugging the tree, because the city did work really hard to actually move a utility pole and actually shift that intersection a little bit to help that situation. There was a situation in Wool Market where a developer started to take some trees down and destroy some trees without a proper approval, and that was transferred over to, so now they're going to have to take care of that in terms of mitigation, and that'll appear in the mitigation report that you'll hear next month. Committee recommendations, I'm not going to go through all of these. I think I've pretty much covered. The biggest one is we need developers to go through the regular process. That's the biggest one, so that we're submitting tree recommendations and the appropriate mitigation is occurring. Okay, on the last page, there's updates and other good news. LDO revisions have been on hold. We're going to continue to work on that with the city. We're working to make better the mitigation system. There's some information there about our hopes for a tree canopy survey, which, there's a little write-up on that. We do all the tree permits tracking, which I've already gone over with you with. We are also beginning to produce reports and articles for publication in the Bee Mail to educate the public and just create a public relations message that educates the public on the best way to not only the necessity of getting a tree permit and how to get a tree permit, but in planting trees in the right places so that they don't end up having to come down later. And then finally, while we're working on a city beautification program outline, we track all of the issues regarding trees. But finally, the Majestic Tree Program, we've got a plan that's pretty much been fine-tuned. And so we're excited to be able to share that with you, and we'll share that with you next month. And we've already had a couple majestic trees go through the process, just kind of as an experiment, as a pilot, and it's going to be pretty smooth. So we're excited to share that with you next month, and we'll launch that upon your approval. Okay? Does anybody have any other questions? Other than when am I going to quit talking and go back to my seat?
I do have a comment.
Okay.
Obviously a lot of time and effort went into this, and I remember when the tree committee first started meeting several years ago, you were getting ready to get ready. I believe you were around the table for those first meetings and have been on the tree committee ever since. A form of municipal penance, no doubt. But having said that, thank you for your work and that of the tree committee. I'll study this a little more, and if I can be of assistance in some manner, please give me a holler.
Thank you, Dr. Tisdale, and you have always been very helpful anytime we have.
Right. No, this is very good data. It's very well done, very well organized. It's good work. Thank you.
This will be published on the tree committee page of the city's website. Okay? Thank you. Okay.
She is. Robin Radolfich is still on. Yes, she was there at the meeting last week with us.
Yes. Yes, she is, and we're glad to have her back. Mm-hmm. Nope. That was Felix's question. Just happened that way today. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll now move to the council reports. We'll start with Mr. Lawrence.
It working now? All right, we had a great weekend in Ward 1. We had a boat show at the International Plaza or by the Seafood Museum or the Point Cadet Pavilion. We have so many names, I don't know which one we're using now. But that turned out to be great. The rain hurt it, but they still had a nice crowd Saturday. So it's a good thing for the city, for a lot of people in the town. Then Danny Vitale had his Kobe fishing, and that was great Saturday. Same thing happened a little bit, the rain Sunday. But I mean, still it turned out great. And actually, Al and Danny's brother ran the boat show. So they had the point kind of controlled up at Towers. That's them Jugoslavs, you know. As Fofo called them, Croatian nation people. But that was a good thing. And then also, at the visitor center, Billy Raymond put his show back on, and people just loved that. A lot of people went to that, so Ward 1 was cooking this week. So that's why we need so much action going on in Ward 1, because things happen in Ward 1. Felix is worrying about Ward 2, but I said, just come to Ward 1, we'll take him in. Not a problem. And hey, and I can't believe Fofo, of all people, Fofo forgot what's today. May the force be with you. Got to be Star Wars. You got to know these things, you know what I mean? You got to pay attention here, Fofo. Come on. Thank y'all. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Guines?
And it was short, too. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to first footstone what the mayor talked about with our Biloxi Police Department. I'd like to commend them, Chief Miller being our lead investigators on this. You guys have done an excellent job. I also want to tell you about 3 or 4 of your officers this weekend where they stopped a couple of kids and sit down and talk with them. I mean, and that's some exceptional work when you're sitting there watching our officers interact in our community with our youth and letting them know what to and what not to do, because I think they avoided a situation that come about, and instead of just taking it to the extreme, they sat the kids down, and they spoke with them and had a good conversation. So I just wanted to let you know what I see your officers doing out there in the public. So thank you, Chief. I'd like to second just touch on Peter. There's a list. If you can hit me with that list anytime. Okay, appreciate that. Mike Leonard, Mike is gone. Oh, there he is. There was a light on Fayard Street that some of the residents wanted to bring back. What is the procedure in getting a light back? I know once we did it as a cost-cutting effort one time. I think a storm blew it down, but they for some reason they didn't get it back up. Oh, no, this is just a light, just a street light, because it's a dark area. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, I know they will. Okay, and I'll get that information to you.
I did this with Councilman Lavin meetings ago where the neighborhood was looking for additional light. I gave him a map and said, you look up there, down on the map, and we'll give it this.
Okay, and we'll make it elementary. I'll go find the pole, put the number down, and send it.
Yeah, you know, Mr. McPower's in the midst right now of going from west to east and replacing every street light in the city with LED lights. So this is, you know, that light's going to be less expensive down the road. They may just, you know, start out that way. So just, you know, put a dot on a map for me. We'll get it done.
Okay, great, thanks. And let's see, and I guess last but not least, I just want to commend Ms. Deborah McGee in the back for accepting the Planning Commission opportunity. Would you stand up, Ms. Deborah? That's Deborah McGee for Ward 2. We're nominating her to be on the Planning Commission. So just...
Been driving the second liners for a while, too.
She's the main driver of the second liners and one of the main drivers in our community. So thank you, Deborah, for accepting it. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Guines. Ms. Newman?
Chief, just to foot stomp what everyone else said, but also I just so happened to see on social media somewhat going viral, one of our own, in a positive light. Jason Cummings was tending to someone, and so in a positive light, he's being shared on social media, which I thought was awesome. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Deming?
I'm kind of confused and not used to having this many people around me. At least George's bad jokes are now targeted towards Felix and not me anymore. Mike, we talked about a light on Linwood that one of the residents put it up for security to light up the street. Talked about seeing if the city could take over, and you were wondering if that was something that we could get a light up in lieu of the security light that they put up on a public property instead of personal property, which we're not sure what that light is on. Did anybody take a look at that?
Honestly, Councilman, I didn't get to that this week. I don't know whether that's a private light or public, but if you remind me again, I'll work on it this week.
No problem. I'll set myself a reminder to.
Yeah, and the other one you're going to ask me about probably is the concrete roads in the Bluffs area.
Right.
I talked to Supervisor Connie Rocco. She's very interested in helping us out in the same way that the county has done on the other concrete roads. You remember both in Ben Oaks and the next year in your ward, and I can't remember the name of the development now, but that we went out and marked a bunch of areas that needed to be removed. We did that with the county, and then the county came in and did the demolition, and then we did the construction. So she's more than happy to put her road crew on that effort, but they're kind of up to their eyeballs right now on DeBees Road. So until they get out of DeBees Road, they're not going to be able to meet with us. But after that, they said they could go out and meet with us, and we jointly walk and put X's, on the sections that we need to take out. And that's the problem with these concrete roads. There's some more in Councilman Tisdale's ward that we're worried about. The city really doesn't want to have concrete roads anymore. We're really discouraging that in development because there's so many long-term downsides to that. So all we can really do is go out and from the surface area, try and figure out where they're failing. And many times you're just guessing based on the cracks and so forth. Mark them and then, demolish and then re-pour them. So we'll do that in the Bluffs area as soon as Connie's road crew is free from the DeBees area.
An expected completion date for the DeBees Road project?
I think probably just another week. They haven't paved yet. They've been working on the roads. In fact, we were out there, our arborist was there this last week looking at, actually yesterday, or today, looking at some trees that need to come out so they could widen the road. But, I think once they get to paving, it'll be a week and they'll be out of there. So later this month.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Tisdale?
Yes, a couple of things. One, I want to thank the county for working with the cities on DeBees Road and getting everybody's around the table, so to speak, this morning on site to look at widening a bit of DeBees Road where it gets very narrow on the campus. Can't be widened much, but it can be widened a little. The other thing I wanted to mention is earlier this week, it was in the media that Biloxi High School was rated the second best high school in the state of Mississippi by U.S. Business News and World Report. And that's really a school district effort. It's focused on the high school, and they have some metrics U.S. News and World Report does to measure high school. So Biloxi High School did very well. And of course, the junior high feeds their kids up to the high school and the elementary, and parents do a good job. So it's a good job by everybody all the way around. The top high school in the state was the Mississippi School for Math and Science. And it's really a school for gifted children, particularly in, of course, math and science. And it's a residential campus on the old Mississippi University for Women. I don't know what it's called now, on that campus. And it's an outstanding opportunity for high school students who are selected. They only accept so many students each year as juniors and seniors. And they're not always from small school districts, but a lot of times they're from school districts that are not large enough to offer a comprehensive curriculum as many schools on the coast do. So I just wanted to congratulate the staff, school board members, and a former school board member out there, parents, the students, the administration, the superintendent. They've just done a really good job in the middle of a COVID pandemic.
If you really look at it, we are the top normal school, the high school in the state.
Well,
right?
Yes, we're the top normal school. Coming from an abnormal mayor, that's pretty good. No, thank you, Mayor, but really good job to the Biloxi School District. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Glavin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, you don't realize the social distancing, how far away we were from each other until we get back up here and sit next to each other. We're certainly elbow to elbow, but it's good to get back to normal. And on that, Mayor, I was honored to keep your seat warm until you could get back to normal or abnormal, till you could get back in your rightful chair as well. This week also kicked off National Tourism Week. National Tourism Week was started by an act of Congress, actually, in 1983, and it's to recognize the tourism industry and what it means to our national economy. Certainly in South Mississippi, the statistics bear out that we captured a third of the tourism travel in 2020 as we step into 2021, and we see the effects. We see getting back to normal is coming back fast, and our advanced bookings are there. This summer is shaping up to be a great summer, so we hope those trends continue. Also, 75% of our customers, not coast-wide, are repeat customers. They're coming back to the coast. And so there's 25% of new customers, and we've got to win them over each and every year. But I thought I'd just highlight that as we step into our summer season. There is, just want to bring the attention before I had a couple calls east of Fat Baby, the old Fayard store that's on Pops Ferry Road. There's a development there that is building some storage units, and they've dumped some sand right in the middle of the sidewalk, and it's impeding and blocking the sidewalk as people are coming, trying to walk or jog or bicycle along that pathway. I don't know how long it's going to be there, but if somebody could just check into it, if it's going to be temporary, that's fine. If there's a better location for them, if they're going to be more loads of sand or dirt, if there's a better location that they can stage that would be appreciated by some, especially some of the elderly people that are using that pathway. And I'd also like to commend Chief Miller for a very, that was a difficult situation to be placed in yesterday. I commend all law enforcement that responded and the job that you are now tasked with the investigation. And prayers to everybody that's affected by that. And that'll conclude my report for today. I'll have more next week on some of the spillway issues. I'm going to be attending a meeting in Baton Rouge tomorrow the Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana is calling a meeting. They're going to talk about the Barataria spillway. So maybe I'll have an update at the next meeting. That concludes my report.
Thank you. The only thing I have is, Mr. Leonard, you said that Mississippi Power is going from east to west, replacing all the lights. Is that something that Coast Electric is doing as well?
They are, but I haven't met with them, so I don't know the details of their plan.
Okay.
This was a year long. When we met with Mississippi Power a month and a half ago, they talked about starting at DeBees Road and coming to the east from the west and working their way neighborhood by neighborhood. Okay. So they've gotten started, but I don't know how far they are. Maybe I'll ask them to come in and brief us.
Yeah, if we could check in with
Coast Electric has the same kind of program going on. I just don't have any details.
Yeah, we just have a large number of lights that are out, and I mean, if we're going to be replacing them, there's no reason to go, fix what's wrong, but or put the old bulbs in or whatever, but we have a large number that's out, so I'd like, if we can find out somehow if there's gonna, when they're gonna start doing that or something.
Those will market lights because of the squirrel hunters?
I've heard all kinds of stories, but I don't know. And then I'd just like to echo what everyone else said to our first responders. You know, yesterday was in the news, but we know every day y'all do a great job, and I'm appreciative of what y'all do. And that concludes our council reports. So we'll now move to our public agenda, citizen comments. We'll have a total allotted time of 45 minutes. Each person that speaks will have 3 minutes to speak. Whenever you come forward, please sign in on the sheet on the table and speak your name into the microphone as well for record. Do I have anyone on my left side of the room, your right side of the room that would like to speak? My left side, your right side. My right side, your left side. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Anyone in the back of the room that would like to speak? All right, if not, citizen comments are closed. We'll now move to the policy agenda. Carrie?
Ordinance for a zoning map amendment to authorize a change in zoning district classification for 2 parcels of land from LB Limited Business to Neighborhood Business for the property located at 334 Howard Avenue.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a first by Mr. Lawrence, a second by Mr. Tisdale.
First reading.
Ordinance to amend appropriate sections of the land development ordinance to clarify where short-term rentals and timeshares are allowed.
All right, this was originally moved by Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Guines.
Yeah, go for it. I got it. Yeah, we'll stop in. They told me to be going until about 9.
I don't think his microphone's on.
So put a shrimp in your pocket.
All that we're doing here, you'll recall that a couple of months ago, we had voted on where to allow short-term rentals, you know, as conditional uses and as use by rights. All we're doing here is just fixing the table inside of the land development ordinance so that it shows on the table where those are allowed by conditional use and where they're allowed by use by right. So it's essentially a housekeeping item.
That's it?
That's it.
No other
That's all it
problem?
is. Yes, sir.
You're not really changing anything?
No, sir.
Just verifying what you can do?
That's correct. That's what we're doing.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor? 7-0. I'll move to resolution C.
Resolution granting minor subdivision plat approval for a defined property at 650 Wetzel Drive.
I'll move it.
Second.
We have a first by Mr. Glavin, second by Mr. Guines. Is there any discussion?
Listen, this area, especially Wetzel, the new development is developing really fast and nicely. These are large lots. This is just a minor plat revision, and it should be positive for the entire area.
Mr. Guines, anything?
No.
All right, any other discussion? Call for the question. All in favor? 7-0.
Resolution denying a request for conditional use to authorize a short-term rental for the property located at 2518 Marshall Road.
I'll make that motion.
A second? I'll second.
I'll second it. Whoever.
We have a first by Mr. Tisdale, a second by myself. All right, a discussion?
Yeah, this short-term rental was denied by the Planning Commission for a conditional use. It's at the very east end of Marshall Road. Well, that's the access in and out. And I agree with what the transcript said. The community doesn't want it. The neighborhood doesn't want it out there. And I guess it would be fair to say, Mr. Creel, if you recollect, you don't need to say anything. As I recall, there was an attorney there for the applicant, and he was not the best prepared attorney without naming names. Would that be accurate?
I would say that, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have to say.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Oh.
No.
You have a question?
I wanted to know more about the project. And other than the neighborhood doesn't want it, what parameters did we address to determine that it's not appropriate?
Well, I think that the main reason that the neighborhood was against it is because you have to drive through the neighborhood to get to it. This property is on the very east side of Edgewater Park subdivision, and if it had its own entrance to get there, it might have been looked at a little bit differently. But because you have to come in off of Beach Boulevard and drive through the residential neighborhood to get to this property on that end, they felt like it was encroachment. And that, I believe that was the main reason they wanted it to.
Can you show me where it's at? This is Marshall. So where's?
The only way you can get in, Marshall Road right there, Edgewater Drive, it's Edgewater.
The map that's attached, it's just hard to understand and follow where it's at. Councilman Tisdale just gave me a brief illustration of how it works. And so that's the purpose, is that?
That was the gist of what I got out of the comments that were made, is that because you have to drive through the neighborhood in order to get to it, they felt that it was an encroachment and would bring unnecessary traffic into the neighborhood, which is what we hear a lot about short-term rental, is that, you know, it's going to increase traffic, and we're a residential neighborhood and we don't want that commercial traffic coming through the heart of the neighborhood.
No further questions.
Mr. Creel, I do have a question. Wasn't there didn't a question arise about parking, and that question wasn't adequately answered or wasn't answered at all?
I recall that the question was answered. Probably need to go back and look at the transcript, but there was a question about the number of units there and how many parking spaces they had, and they had several parking spaces.
I remember, I was in this meeting, and I remember that the attorney couldn't answer how many bedrooms were in the unit as well, and so there was a question as to whether there was adequate parking for the number of bedrooms or that was in the unit, and there were several questions that the attorney that was there representing him couldn't answer when asked.
That's correct.
I mean, I remember the ingress problem, but the questions that were asked, the attorney that was representing the guy, there were multiple questions that he couldn't answer in regards to that property.
Yeah, someone had to come up and let him know how many bedrooms that there would be in the building. And it was determined that there is enough parking there to accommodate it, but I think the use was the main objection from the neighbors.
Is there any other discussion? All right, call for the question. All in favor? All opposed? 6-1, 6 in favor, 1 opposed, being Mr. Deming.
Resolution appointing Deborah McGee, Ward 2 Representative to the Biloxi Planning Commission.
I move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Deborah will be an excellent choice representing and working hard in our community.
Great.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yeah,
I say
good
the same
choice.
thing every time. Anybody wants to take one of these jobs, God bless them.
You bet. All right, we'll call for the question. All in favor? 7-0. Congratulations. We'll now move to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a first by Mr. Tisdale, a second by Mr. Glavin. We'll start. With Mr. Lawrence.
Question on B.
Out the way.
At Team Waste, that used to have the contract before Pelican Waste, and they renting the room. Are they coming back to do something in the town? Team Waste Company?
You go ahead, Peter. They're just renting a space.
Do what?
They just needed some rental space, and we had some rental space. It was a marriage made in heaven.
But I knew they were involved in the city of Biloxi. That's why I'm asking you, are they coming back to do anything in the city of Biloxi, or are they just renting a room?
They didn't share that with that kind of information with us.
There's no particular Team Waste Biloxi contract going on. They need a coast presence. I think they had another office somewhere else on the coast, and they wanted to, they were looking for new office space. And this is the entire second floor of the Port Commission building, and it's a higher rent than we were getting before.
That's one of the better lawyer answers you give us in a while.
I appreciate them.
$1,500 a month.
Well, the lawyers are getting a bad name today, so I figured I'd try a little better.
That we gotta put up with, you know what I mean? On E, like it enough with this money, you're moving this money to where?
We're moving this money to another Tidelands project, which is in the city of Biloxi. It is a boat ramp down by Treasure Bay at the end of our walkway. So we're basically moving it to a county project that's going to be in the city of Biloxi. So everybody wins.
Do you have a start date on when they're actually gonna build that boat ramp, when they're gonna start building it?
Don't know. County project.
Okay.
We'll ask them.
We involved with it money-wise.
This gives them enough money to be able to put a RFP out, so.
That's a great location to me.
We understand it's already designed. It's a matter of just getting enough money to build it. So this ought to do it.
Okay. And I know this is a good one here on the fire station number 5, but needs a lot of work. I think that's a good project.
What's going on Fire Station 5 is, as Chief Boney would, I'm sure, agree with me, it is the second busiest fire station of our 10, and also the smallest and most cramped, and it's just a terrible station. The guys are practically sharing bunks. What we're trying to do there, because we've got room out back, is we're trying to add on to the back of the station to open it up and make it more livable. That's a FY 22 or 23 project, but this is the beginnings of that, where we're doing the surveying, and we've set up a capital project and the guy that designed our last 2 fire stations will design the extension of the fire station. It's a project that we'll come back to the council on, sometime next year to try and construct the addition.
I think it's great. I think about the council feels the same way. Anytime you upgrade the police department or fire department, that's a good thing for the city of Biloxi. So that's a plus. One more, Jay.
Okay.
You were doing another clerk? Somebody left, or we just had another clerk?
There won't be in court to be at the front desk to swear 2 affidavits, when officers sign an affidavit.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Guines?
Do what?
Oh, you're still going?
I wasn't. What, you want me to quit now?
Oh, I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
Anybody can.
All the rest of the things to
Dixie's
me
here.
is when they had all this extra money for the Parks and Recreation and things like that on O and P and all these are good things. So I mean, this is what people got to realize. The city of Biloxi is just on a upbeat. Everything we're doing is just better than everybody else. Sorry, Gulfport, but they're way behind. So anyway, good thing for the city of Biloxi. Thank you.
Mr. Ms. Newman?
Would it be appropriate for us to comment on the change in your hair color? It's rather noticeable.
She may comment on yours too, Mike, so I'd be careful.
Nobody noticed my part? It's on the other side. Jeez.
Mr. Deming? Mr. Tisdale?
Question about the fire station. Are we looking at, because I know behind the fire station, they're going to be working on, I guess, that water tower, well back there in addition to that. Will that be fenced and will that be paved for parking? Because right now I don't think there's any parking for the firefighters they park on the grass, don't
In
they,
fact,
Chief?
one of the things, Councilman, that they asked us to include in the project is a fenced area for them to park their cars because there been a lot of theft and not so nice stuff happening to their vehicles when they're parked overnight. So that area, Public Works is moving very slowly, but they're getting there to move all the dirt and the rock and so forth. It's their kind of borrow pit area. They're moving that to Cavalier Park area, so they'll get out of the way. And then the well will get drilled, and then once the well is drilled, about sometime after that, we do the addition on the station.
Okay. Just be nice to have, I appreciate the fence, it'd be great if we could include some paved parking for the firefighters that work there, give them enough room to park. Thank you, that's it.
Mr. Glavin?
I have nothing.
All right, and I have nothing. So I'll call for the question. All in favor? 7-0. Are there any exceptions? No exceptions. All right, we'll now move to code enforcement hearings.
The first case on the agenda, item A, Biloxi Marking Products Incorporated, 2730 Fernwood Road. That case has been resolved. Item B on the agenda, Jason Brown and Dana Richard for 0 Clay Street. This property is still in violation.
Yeah, good.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf or against Jason Brown and Dana Richard, Clay Street? All right, if not, this case is closed.
Okay. Item C, Othelia Cavazos, 142 Keller Avenue. This is the old Bark building on Keller. And I'd like to ask the council for a 30-day extension on this. The owner, the property has been sold, and the new owner, Thomas Quave, has hired a contractor to go in and actually fix it the right way. And I told him that I would ask for a 30-day extension.
I move 30 days.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Second.
Item D, Deluxe Homes.
Hold on 1 second, Jerry. We had a first by George, second by Felix. 7-0.
Okay. Item D, Deluxe Homes LLC, 2044 Greater Avenue. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of Deluxe Homes LLC, 2044 Greater Avenue? All right, if not, this case is closed.
Item E, Ralph L. and Mavis G. Dickerson, 157 Brady Drive. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf or against Ralph and Mavis Dickerson, 157 Brady Drive? Not, this case is closed.
Item F, Maria Jesterek Estate, 274 Bluer Drive. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf or against Maria Jesterek Estate, 274 Bluer Drive? If not, this case is closed.
Item G, Rick Q. Lee, 136 Rodenberg Avenue. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf or against Rick Lee, 136 Rodenberg Avenue? If not, this case is closed.
Item H, Savannah Thomas, care of Marla Handford, 170 Camellia Street. These owners were here at the beginning of the meeting and were not aware that the tree had to be removed on the property. They have cleaned up some of the other property, and I told them I would ask for a 30-day extension.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a first by Mr. Guines, a second by Mr. Glavin.
George. George was first.
Okay. First by George, I'm sorry. Second by Kenny. All right, all in favor? 7-0. We'll now move to our routine agenda.
So moved.
All right, we have a first by Mr. Lawrence, a second by Mr. Guines.
I heard that Mike Linden took over for Walt Rody, and we already have $3.19 million coming in Friday. Is that true, Mike?
Yeah, I heard you, Councilman. I was looking at my piece of paper with the notes on it. As we have a 3.190 million pending at MEMA. We'll have those funds by Friday, and an additional 1.4 million will be in the next installment. But to add to that, I think of other interest to you, we will be making our third and fourth draws against the emergency borrowing fund tomorrow, approximately $1 million. This puts us about $5 million borrowed against the $10 million worth of notes on the emergency borrowing for the Hurricane Zeta repairs. We, even though FEMA has obligated the first $3 million and change, we have not, the MEMA has not worked it yet. We've been checking with them every couple of days. Ultimately, what's happened, the process explained it to us is that MEMA will, that 75% will come to MEMA. It should be obligated, it's already obligated with MEMA. MEMA then has to calculate the 25% that's their share, and then they pass that to us. We're still waiting for that, so we have not gotten one penny of hurricane FEMA reimbursement at this point, and we will, as of tomorrow, have borrowed $5 million.
Good thing y'all staying on top of that. That's a lot of money that we need to, get in to all the problems that we have with this hurricane. That's a good thing. Appreciate that.
I don't know if you noticed it, but I think if anybody's been by the stadium at night knows the Shuckers are back in town. They're actually practicing out there. There's a brand-new scoreboard out there. There are new wall pads around. They're working on the lights. It looks like we're going to be ready to play ball on the 11th. The first game is the 11th. Yeah. See you there.
Yeah, they're playing in Birmingham tonight.
You getting all our tickets?
Oh, yeah, we got all the tickets.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? All right, not a call for the question. All in favor? Do I have a motion to recess?
So move.
First by Mr. Tisdale, second by Mr. Lawrence. All in favor? 7-0.
Good job, Nathan.